Hello, my name is the Doorman. That's what you can call me, at least. You have died, presumably, and that is why you are here. This is sort of purgatory, but even between purgatory. This is where you can come and go, whether you're in heaven or hell. Today, I have a story for you. It's not supposed to be scary, but it might be depending on your fears and what you think of the story and how you take said story. My voice might change, might not be recognizable, and I might stutter. But when you have lived eons controlling a realm of pure infinite darkness, it is hard to become recognizable, and it's hard for you to notice that. My voice may crack, my voice may stutter, and it may change pitch. It is all part of the process, as it is how humans live. The myth I have for you today is one of my favorites, the first myth I ever read, so it has a special place in my heart. It's a story called The Mirror. It will deal with mimics, and it will deal with something of sorts. If you've ever seen the movie Ring, you'll understand what I'm talking about. My sentences may not make sense to you, but they make sense to me, and that is what matters, as I am the one who tells the story. So take a seat in front of me as I read you this story. There's not a book. I'm doing this off memory. I've lived forever, so there are a lot of stories for me to tell. Here we go. There was this rich family. They lived in a nice, massive house, very secluded and away from peasantry, as they would say. Inside of this house, there was a bathroom. Obviously, this bathroom had a mirror in it. This is where our story starts. You know when you look in a mirror and you see your reflection? That, obviously, is what happens when you look into something like a mirror. But have you ever heard of a simulacrum? Something that impersonates you, but isn't you. A different entity. Sometimes they are also known as mimics, doppelgangers. They can be all sorts of things and come in all sorts of shapes and forms. Some dark, some just as human as you. This is a story about one of those simulacrums. The simulacrum of the mirror. The girl, name does not matter as she is now gone, was in this bathroom, doing her makeup as any girl would. She heard her name being called by her dad. She walked away. But the thing is, her reflection stayed. She obviously didn't witness this, as none of us would when our backs are turned. But it's still weird that it happened. How did I know that this happened? Because I see all. Everything having to do with darkness and fear and dread, I see it. Every car accident, every death, every scary moment, every supernatural activity I see. So I saw this. She came back, and obviously the reflection was gone as to not blow its cover. So, when she stepped in front of the mirror again, her reflection was back. Now, she wasn't afraid, wasn't suspicious that her reflection was more than just a reflection. In fact, she, to her knowledge, thought it was just a reflection. Something she would soon, mistakenly, know was not true. I don't know if that sentence makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me. I know what I'm trying to come out and say. She would soon learn that her reflection was not just a reflection. It was instead a different being. Her parents were going out of town. She had to stay home alone. She's a teenager, about 16. She doesn't mind this, as a kid would. A lot of times those kids would like to be home alone. But she would soon learn that wanting to be home alone was a mistake. She would soon learn it would be fatal, and that maybe her life would continue and end at the same time that night. She stood in front of that mirror doing her makeup just because she wanted to. Because she has access to all this stuff, she might as well use it. But as her parents left, the mimic struck. The mimic grabbed at her and crawled out of the mirror. The mimic attacked her, stared her in the eyes, but there was something off. Her eyes, a nice hazel brown. The mimic's eyes, a pitch void black with red pupils. That color combination, red and black, is something you will very soon learn to be familiar. She struggled to breathe with these somehow odd feeling hands grasping her neck. Her neck snapped. The mimic drug her body away and hid it in the woods and took her place. She used contacts to hide the eyes and used that same makeup that led to this fate to cover her trace. She hid the body better, she buried it, burnt evidence, cleaned evidence, spent all night preparing, and started to learn the livings of this girl. By the time her parents had returned, they were happy to see their daughter, yet their daughter seemed a little quieter. They didn't bother, as rich parents would. In my assumption, they didn't really care. They just thought that she was going through a teenage phase, as a lot of parents would. That's what my parents thought. And they were kind of right. I learned to speak out more. But that's when I touched darkness. When I found my place. This girl slowly learned the dialect of the real one. Emma had been replaced by Emma. This simulacrum hid her body well, buried it in a different dimension. And when the fake Emma looked in the mirror, the real Emma was there, begging to get out. And as the reflection walks away, and Emma walks away with it, having to follow, the bathroom light shuts off as the book closes. That was the mirror. I know I stuttered a lot, and I know it may not have been the longest story. Very short story. But this, Dear Dead, was the first entry of Tales from the Darkness. Now, with a warning, whether you lie in heaven or hell, or purgatory, or anything in between, always feel free to come by for another story. I don't know what the next story might be. We will figure that out on your next visit. But thank you for listening to my tale. I hope to see your face again, dear listener. Goodbye.